The screen lights up. Josh, 29, jolts awake to a vibrating phone and sees the words, "Trading halted. GameStop." It's 6:32 a.m. in San Francisco, and his Robinhood app just froze. Panic. His savings are locked. Overnight, the 18 he made from Jimmy is now a hostage. "This can't be real," he mutters, eyes scanning Reddit's R Wall Street bets. Posts are exploding. Screenshots, disbelief, fury. "They did what?" someone yells in a viral video, already trending. News anchors scramble to explain. Robinhood has restricted trading on several stocks, citing volatility concerns. But the word restricted slams like betrayal. Josh's voice breaks as he says, "They rigged it. They rigged it." Twitter erupts with hashtags, #Robinhood, #sellouts. His feed turns into a war zone of memes, outrage and blurry screenshots from Discord calls. Texts fly in. "Did you get out? WTF is happening? Did they just kneecap retail traders?" The world is spinning. On the other end of the city, in a boardroom lit by pre-dawn fluorescents, a line of suits whisper over speakerphones. One asks, "Do we have liquidity for tomorrow?" Another responds, "We need to shut it down now." The freeze wasn't just technical, it was personal. For Josh and millions like him, it felt like betrayal by the very tool they believed was their weapon. Robinhood, the app with the cheerful green interface and promises of financial equality, suddenly felt like a trap. "They stopped us. They literally stopped us from winning," Josh whispered, voice cracking. The revolution they'd believed in, young traders beating the hedge funds, collapsed mid-charge. On Reddit, stories piled up. Veterans investing their pensions, teenagers turning 600 into 60,000, single moms buying in to pay off debt. They weren't gamblers. They were survivors. And now, locked out. The betrayal wasn't abstract, it was deeply emotional. It meant rent not paid, dreams aborted. Democratizing finance, they said. But for who? In group chats and comment threads, a collective scream formed. The people weren't just mad. They were humiliated, furious, and awake. Something in the financial system cracked, and what leaked out was raw and ugly. Robinhood's official tweet tried to sound calm. "In light of recent volatility, we are restricting transactions for certain securities." But no amount of PR spin could suppress the tidal wave of backlash. Instantly, screenshots of the tweet went viral. "You mean stealing?" one reply snapped. Lawsuits were being drafted before lunch. The C said they were monitoring. Politicians from opposite ends of the spectrum found rare unity. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted, "This is unacceptable." Ted Cruz, quote, retweeted, "Fully agree." The internet froze. Did that just happen? Social media timelines became courtroom exhibits. AOC and Cruz agreeing. The absurdity only underscored the moment's gravity. "This is no longer about stocks," someone posted on Reddit. "This is about trust." As the tweet echo-chambered across platforms, Robinhood's followers dropped by the thousands per hour. Reviews on app stores plummeted. For Josh, the betrayal deepened. "This isn't just about losing money," he said aloud. "It's about getting played." By late afternoon, Robinhood's CEO, Vlad Tenev, appeared on CNBC. Calm, composed, calculated. "This was a risk management decision," he said, dodging specifics. His voice was firm, his smile thin. But behind the controlled tone, cracks showed. Josh watched from his apartment, pausing every few seconds to catch his breath. "He's lying," he muttered. "He has to be." On forums, users dissected every blink, every phrase. Was it Citadel? Was it the DTCC, who forced Robinhood to pull the plug? Or was it just greed in disguise? Vlad's words echoed through living rooms, dorms, bars, and basements. Across America, young traders felt the rage swell into something dangerous, a collective realization that maybe the game had always been rigged. "Easy," Josh said quietly. "They just got caught." Night fell, but the rage didn't. Discord servers filled with calls for class action suits. Reddit threads turned manifesto-like. The vibe was no longer about profit, it was war. Josh sat in the dark, headphones on, listening to a live stream debate between lawyers, traders, and finance YouTubers. "You can't halt trades to protect hedge funds," a voice thundered. The audience erupted in clapping emojis. "This is a revolution," someone shouted. Josh stared at his screen, silent, shaking. He wasn't alone. Across the country, phones glowed in the dark as millions tuned in. They weren't just retail traders anymore. They were a movement. A feeling crept in. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Before the chaos, there was hope. Just 2 weeks earlier, Josh had sat at his desk late into the night, surrounded by glowing screens, graphs, and dreams. He wasn't rich. He wasn't a Wall Street insider. He was a barista turned part-time trader, learning from forums and YouTube. Each trade felt like a small revolution. "We're finally in the game," he told his girlfriend, smiling. She smiled back, half teasing, "Just don't forget to eat." They laughed. It wasn't about greed. It was about breaking in. A door that had always been closed to people like him. For the first time, Josh felt empowered. Watching his 800 grow to 14,000 didn't feel like luck, it felt earned. Every candlestick chart was a strike against the suits. Every dollar made was one step out of paycheck to paycheck life. "Maybe this is our moment," he whispered to himself, eyes fixed on the monitor. There was no sign of the storm ahead, only the hum of possibility and the soft glow of ambition. Josh wasn't alone. Across the country, others like him were taking their shot. Alex, a 33-year-old Marine veteran from Kansas, had thrown in his savings after watching Jimmy rise. "This is my ticket out," he told his younger brother, who watched silently. In Detroit, Maya, a 24-year-old single mom, had joined the movement too. "I'm not asking for a miracle. I just want to clear my debt," she whispered while watching her toddler sleep beside her. These weren't hedge fund gamblers. These were everyday Americans who saw an opening in a rigged system. From college dorms to basement apartments, a quiet rebellion brewed. They weren't investing in stocks. They were investing in hope. On forums, they cheered each other on. "Hold the line. We're all in this together. Power to the players." Josh felt part of something bigger. He'd never known unity like this before. Digital, raw, emotional. This wasn't about winning a trade. It was about winning a future. Josh scrolled through the message board, heart racing. A post caught his eye, a screenshot of someone who turned 400 into 80K. "I'm paying off my parents' mortgage," it read. The comments poured in. "Legend, you did it for all of us. Don't sell." These weren't just numbers anymore. They were lifelines. With every gain, a new thread surfaced. People donating to charities, paying off student loans, quitting jobs they hated. Hope was viral. For Josh, who grew up watching his parents drown in debt, this was redemption. He posted his gains, or 13,782. The upvotes exploded. "Rocket Man," someone wrote. He laughed. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a failure. Not just a cog. Not just a consumer, but a player, contender, the kind of man who could finally help, not just survive. He turned to his girlfriend. "I think we're gonna be okay." She nodded, eyes wet, as they stared at the glowing chart like it was their first sunrise. Then came the hesitation. Josh refreshed the screen. Jimmy was skyrocketing, but so was anxiety. Should he sell? Hold? Everyone was shouting different things online. Some called it a revolution. Others warned of a bubble. Josh's finger hovered over the sell button. His girlfriend leaned in, whispering, "Do what feels right." He clicked away, deciding to hold. A Reddit thread pinged, "Citadel is getting nervous." Laughter echoed through the comments. We're shaking the system. But the system was listening. The volume, the exposure, it was becoming dangerous. News outlets scrambled to cover the frenzy. Robinhood became the #1 app on the App Store. Wall Street was rattled. Hedge funds were bleeding billions. The people were winning. Josh grinned nervously, saying, "They can't stop this." He believed it. They all did. But in the background, invisible hands were already moving, quietly preparing the brakes. The night before the halt felt like a party. On Discord, thousands chanted, "Hold," over voice chat dial. People blasted music, cracked jokes, posted diamond hand emojis. For one fleeting night, it felt like revolution was real, not in theory, but lived. Josh joined a live stream with fellow traders from around the world. A kid from London yelled, "This is the people's Wall Street now." Cheers erupted. There was unity, power, a sense of control. No one wanted to go to sleep. It felt like if they stayed awake long enough, they could outrun the system. Josh leaned back, sipping a warm beer, smiling. He felt invincible. This changes everything, he thought. But history often disguises breaking points as celebrations. And as laughter echoed through chat rooms and emojis danced across screens, no one noticed the quiet tremble underneath. Tomorrow would break something sacred. But tonight was victory. Morning broke, but it didn't bring calm. At 6:30 a.m., Josh's phone exploded with alerts, trading restricted. His Robinhood app froze. GME locked. AMIC locked. Dozens of others too. Panic surged. Discord erupted in rage. "What the hell is happening?" someone shouted. Josh's girlfriend watched him collapse into his chair, slack-jawed. They stopped it," he muttered. In real time, gains were vanishing. Josh's Fortank dropped to 6K in hours. The comment sections flooded. Robbery, illegal, class action now. Reddit mods pinned posts titled, "Do not sell," and "This is war." Vlad Tenev, Robinhood CEO, remained silent. No warning. No vote. No choice. Just silence. On live streams, people sobbed. "They pulled the rug mid-fight," one trader said, voice cracking. And outside the bubble, the media finally caught up. CNN ran banners. Retail revolt halted. CNBC showed hedge fund leaders smirking. Josh clenched his fists, eyes burning. They couldn't beat us, so they broke the rules. The news spread like wildfire. Robinhood was accused of protecting hedge funds, not users. Interviews with legal experts dominated screens. "This reeks of market manipulation," one said. But Robinhood claimed otherwise. They blamed clearinghouse requirements. Few bought it. Social media was a war zone. Petitions surged. Politicians chimed in. "We need answers," said Elizabeth Warren. "We're looking into it," said the SEC. But to Josh and millions more, it was déjà vu, another moment where the powerful bent the rules to their will. AOC called it unacceptable. Ro Khanna demanded transparency. Dave Portnoy, the self-made trading personality, exploded online. "This is the most anti-American thing I've ever seen." Josh sat watching a live stream, jaw clenched. "We were a threat, and they shut us down." He wasn't just angry now, he was radicalized. Not with violence, but with purpose. The game was rigged. And everyone was finally seeing it. Then Vlad Tenev finally spoke. A soft-lit interview on CNBC. Calm voice. Firm tone. "We didn't do this for Wall Street. It was a technical constraint, nothing more." But he said, liquidity, too often. Too scripted. Josh shouted at the screen, "Say who made you do it." On Reddit, users pulled receipts, SEC filings, Citadel relationships, funding records. Vlad's phone logs became memes. One call from Citadel and boom, the doors shut, a post raid. Vlad insisted. No one told us to do this. But trust was dead. Robinhood's mission statement was now mockery. From democratize finance to protect the elite. Josh stared at his old screenshots of gains, frozen now, like museum relics. They never meant it, he whispered. The mask was off. And the man behind it? Just another suit. The class divide was exposed in code. Robinhood's user agreement had fine print that shielded them from lawsuits. The anger intensified. Lawyers analyzed every clause. They wrote this to protect themselves, not you. One posted. Josh scrolled in disbelief. We gave them everything, he muttered. Data, trust, loyalty, and they had already protected their exits. Discord calls turned legal. How do we sue them? Someone asked. Reddit pinned a lawyer's AMA. Yes, you have a case. Momentum shifted. Rage became action. Class action lawsuits were filed. State attorneys began inquiries. But money had already moved. Hedge funds got bailouts. Retail investors got silence. We trusted the app, Josh whispered. But the app was never on our side. The digital rebellion cracked, not because it was weak, but because the castle had stronger walls than anyone imagined. That night, Josh opened the app one last time. The interface was the same, cheerful greens, animated coins. But it felt like a lie now. This isn't for us, he said softly. He didn't sell. He didn't buy. He just stared. On Twitter, Robinhood was trending for all the wrong reasons. Every promise had unraveled. On our Wall Street bets, posts slowed. Memes turned bitter. Remember when we thought we were free? Someone wrote. Josh closed the app. Not in rage. In mourning. His girlfriend watched him, silently placing a hand on his shoulder. We'll figure it out, she said. He nodded. But something had shifted. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about the betrayal. The curtain was lifted. The system exposed. And for the first time, Josh wasn't asking how to beat it. He was asking how to change it. Beneath the chaos, something darker lurked. A term kept surfacing. Payment for order flow. Most had never heard of it. But Josh, now obsessed, started digging. In a YouTube explainer, a finance expert said, Robinhood doesn't charge commissions because they sell your orders to firms like Citadel. Josh froze. Wait, they sell us? He whispered. He scrolled deeper. Robinhood routes user trades to market makers who pay for the privilege, profiting off the difference. So we're the product? He muttered. Reddit threads lit up with furious breakdowns. This is the real scam, one post screamed. A flowchart mapped how trades never hit the open market. And this isn't democratization, a YouTuber ranted. It's a casino, and Robinhood is the house. The words hit like betrayal, all over again. Vlad had never mentioned this. Josh slammed his desk. It was never about helping us win. It was always about selling our bets to someone richer. In a Zoom call with his online group, Josh spoke up for the first time. They profit off our trades, before they even happen. The room fell silent. Someone replied, Citadel pays them to front-run us. Another added, it's legal, but it's rigged. Faces stared back. Young, old, diverse, all betrayed. Maya, from Detroit, said quietly, so every time I thought I was winning, I was really just feeding them. Josh nodded. There were no yelling matches now, just quiet understanding. The system wasn't broken. It was operating exactly as designed. The trust in Robinhood, in fintech, in the dream, was unraveling. They put a smiling UI on exploitation, Josh muttered. One man older, in a suit, leaned in on camera. They didn't fail us, they used us. And for the first time, everyone believed it. The media caught up. Bloomberg published a damning headline, Robinhood's profit model under scrutiny. A leaked document revealed Citadel paid nearly $700 million to Robinhood in the previous year. Josh read every line with clenched fists. It was no longer a theory, it was public. Reddit lit up with screenshots. "This isn't a platform, it's a pipeline," one user wrote. Josh posted, "We were never the client. We were the commodity." His post got thousands of upvotes. Memes spread fast, Vlad holding a leash labeled Citadel. People were waking up. "They called us dumb money," Josh said in a live stream. "But we learned. And we remember." It wasn't just about a scandal anymore. It was about understanding the mechanics of control. And finally, the masses were reading the fine print. Josh met with a journalist via encrypted chat. She asked, "Why do you think this exploded?" He replied, "Because it was never just about stocks. It was about being tricked." He sent her screenshots, links, PDFs, everything he'd collected. She promised to run the story. "Just make sure they can't ignore it," he said. Meanwhile, YouTubers released exposés. Podcasts ran 2-hour breakdowns of Robinhood's backend. Even late-night comedy shows jumped in. But the most powerful stories weren't data points. They were personal. People like Maya, Alex, and Josh turned symbols. "I believed in it," Maya said in a clip, tears in her eyes. "That's what hurts." The journalist's article dropped. Silicon Valley's favorite broker, the smile behind the slaughter. It trended globally. Curtain wasn't just pulled back. It was ripped open. Robinhood released a slick video. Vlad stood in front of a white backdrop. "We hear you, we're making changes," he said. But the eyes were hollow. The tone scripted. Josh watched it in silence. "Too late," he whispered. On Reddit, someone reposted Robinhood's old tagline, "Let the people trade." The comments were brutal. "Unless it threatens the rich. Unless it costs Citadel." A wave of users deleted their accounts. Some moved to public brokerages. Others left the market entirely. For Josh, it wasn't about moving his money. It was about reclaiming his belief. "We don't need saviors," he said aloud. "We need systems that don't lie." Robinhood's rating dropped to 1 star. The revolution had been paused, but not silenced. It was just recalibrating. It all came to a head at the hearing. Josh sat frozen before his screen, watching history unfold live on C-SPAN.Y. The U.S. House Financial Services Committee called Robinhood CEO, Vlad Tenev, hedge fund billionaire Ken Griffin, and Reddit user, Roaring Kitty. The digital world held its breath. "Mr. Tenev," a congresswoman began, "who told you to stop the trades?" Vlad, under oath, replied, "No one told us to do anything." The tension was electric. Roaring Kitty, real name Keith Gill, sat cool and composed. "I'm just a guy who likes the stock," he said, smirking. Laughter rippled online. Josh whispered, "Legend." But this wasn't theater. It was reckoning. "Isn't selling trades to Citadel a conflict of interest?" another representative asked. Vlad hesitated. The mask slipped. Josh leaned forward. This wasn't a CEO anymore. It was a man dodging justice on live TV. The questions kept coming. "Do you believe you breached fiduciary duty? Was there undue influence from Citadel? Why weren't users informed?" Vlad deflected, paused, rephrased. Josh noticed something. The more Vlad spoke, the less he said. Politicians traded shots. Some demanded accountability. Others subtly defended free markets. But the real trial was outside the chamber, in group chats, Reddit threads, YouTube streams, where thousands reacted live. "He's sweating," one comment read. "He's done," said another. Josh's Discord pinged nonstop. Roaring Kitty gave closing remarks. "No, I believed in the company. The system doesn't scare me." The audience erupted. It wasn't just a quote, it was a declaration. Josh whispered, "He didn't sell us out. But someone else did." That night, Josh wrote a post on Reddit. Title: "I'm done with pretend freedom." It read like a manifesto. He spoke of deception, of lost faith, of the new clarity he had. They can't steal our voice, he ended. It exploded with upvotes. Maya commented, "We'll build something better." Alex reposted it. It spread. Across the forums, the mood shifted from mourning to rebuilding. New platforms were being discussed. Public brokerages. Community-owned finance. The betrayal had become fuel. Josh refreshed the page. 32,000 upvotes. Dozens of awards. "We aren't done," he muttered. "We're just getting started." His words were now part of something bigger. Not just a movement, a memory, a scar, a reminder of what happens when power hides behind a pretty app. Outside Josh's window, the city was quiet, but inside his screen, rebellion echoed. YouTubers launched campaigns for transparent trading tools. Developers shared open-source brokerage prototypes. Live streamers raised funds to fight legal battles. "This is just phase one," one creator said. Josh joined a digital town hall. Voices from across the globe, strategizing. "No leaders, just energy." "We don't need to destroy the system," someone said. "We need to redesign it." Ideas flooded in. Ethical brokers. Real-time transparency. User ownership. What began with memes was evolving into a mission. Josh turned to his girlfriend and said, "We're not fighting for stocks anymore. We're fighting for truth." She smiled, proud. For the first time, this didn't feel like survival. It felt like strategy. Before sleeping, Josh opened the Robinhood app one last time. The green buttons, the cartoon confetti, all felt artificial. He stared at his portfolio. Jimmy shares still there, battered but untouched. He didn't close them. He didn't need to. He'd already moved on. He deleted the app. Not in anger. In evolution. Tomorrow would bring headlines, lawsuits, maybe even regulation. But tonight, he reclaimed his narrative. "We were never meant to win," he whispered. "But we changed the rules just by playing." As the screen went black, a quiet calm settled in. Not all revolutions are won in victory. Some are won in clarity. And Josh, like millions, now saw everything for what it really was. Days passed. The chaos settled into silence. But Josh didn't feel defeated. He felt aware. His Robinhood account remained untouched, now just a reminder. He opened a new app, a public brokerage with zero payment for order flow. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. He joined a Discord group focused on transparency and financial education. "If we understand the system, we can't be tricked by it," someone posted. Josh replied, "This time we read the fine print first." Meanwhile, headlines faded. Politicians moved on. Wall Street resumed business. But something had changed. Not in markets, but in minds. The illusion had cracked. And once you see the wizard behind the curtain, you never forget he's there. Josh printed a screenshot of his GME chart, pinned it on his wall. Not for the gains. For the lesson. "This happened," he whispered. "And I lived through it." Maya opened a bank account for her son. Alex enrolled in a community finance class. Keith Gill, Roaring Kitty, vanished from the spotlight, leaving only archived clips and a legend. Across the forums, stories trickled in. Some lost everything. Some walked away stronger. All were changed. A new subreddit formed, Our Wealthy Investors. Not about hype, about accountability. "This isn't over," one post read. "It's just our turn to lead." Josh scrolled for hours. No more rocket emojis. No more diamond hands. Just conversations. Plans. Blueprints. The noise was gone. What remained was clarity. He posted, "Finance doesn't need to be gamified. It needs to be fair." Upvotes trickled in. Fewer than before. But deeper. Real. Bautori. A movement doesn't die when it's betrayed. It evolves when people realize what it was really about. Josh met with an old friend over coffee. She hadn't followed the story but asked, was it worth it? He thought for a long time. It wasn't about the money. It was about seeing clearly. She nodded, not entirely understanding, but respecting the answer. He explained what payment for order flow meant. Why democratized finance can't rely on selling data. She listened, surprised. You sound like a teacher. He shrugged. We're all students of the system, until we start asking the right questions. Across the cafe, a college student scribbled notes from a laptop streaming a podcast titled, Rebuilding Trust in Finance. Josh watched and smiled. The moment wasn't just his anymore. It was generational. And if the system wouldn't change itself, the people inside it would. Josh began writing. Not angry posts, but thoughtful essays. His first piece, Lessons from the Green Confetti. It wasn't viral, but it resonated. One commenter wrote, I thought I was alone. Another said, you helped me see it clearly. His inbox filled with messages, stories of mistakes, victories, confusion, and growth. He realized something. The financial system may be designed by elites, but understanding it is a power no one can strip away. Knowledge was the next rebellion. We don't need heroes, he typed. We need literacy. His writing spread to newsletters, blogs, even podcasts. Not for fame, but for truth. Because revolutions don't always scream. Sometimes they publish. And Josh had found his voice. Months later, Josh stood at a university podium, invited to speak on retail investing. He wore a plain gray hoodie. No suit. No PowerPoint. Just a story. He began. I lost money, but I gained vision. The room hushed. Students leaned in. He spoke not of charts, but of betrayal, awakening, and the power of questioning narratives. He ended with the same words he once posted. Finance isn't a game. It's a system, and we can either play it blind or play it aware. A long pause. Then applause. As students filed out, one tapped his shoulder. Thanks, she said. Now I'm reading the fine print. Josh smiled. That was the win. Not revenge. Not riches. But ripple effects. Because even after the dust settles, the right story, the true story, keeps going. It was a quiet Sunday morning when Josh returned to the place it all started, his Reddit account. The thread that once exploded with energy now sat like an old battlefield. Posts were fewer. The memes faded. The noise gone. He scrolled past his own viral comments, now archived beneath layers of time. I remember what this felt like, he whispered. But there was no bitterness. Only clarity. He opened a blank post. Typed slowly. We didn't win the war, but we proved we could stand up. He paused, hovered over the post button, and then closed the window. He didn't need to say it anymore. He'd already lived it. That day he walked outside, no notifications, no chart. Just a sky full of sun and silence. For the first time in months, he wasn't watching the market. He was just watching the world. And it felt real. Inside, the old Jimmy screenshot still hung on his wall, faded now. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder. His girlfriend, now fiancée, passed by holding 2 mugs. You thinking about that week again? She asked. Josh smiled. Sometimes. It taught me more than any class ever did. She handed him the coffee, sat beside him. And what did it teach you? He looked at her. That the system only fears one thing, people who understand it. They clinked mugs and sipped. No ceremony. Just quiet truth. He wasn't bitter. He was awake. And that was enough. Somewhere in the background a news anchor droned. The financial markets opened this morning after another volatile week, but the sound felt distant now. Like static. Josh didn't flinch. He just smiled. Elsewhere, on a university campus, a student read Josh's essay on a tablet. Lessons from the Green Confetti. She scribbled notes in a finance notebook. In a high-rise startup, a young engineer coded a transparent brokerage prototype with "No Pfoff" stamped proudly across the UIY. And in a Brooklyn bookstore, Maya stood beside a shelf labeled Personal Finance, placing her new self-published book, "No One's Coming to Save You." These weren't headlines, but they were impact, the ripple effect. What began as rage had matured into resolve, a quiet movement rebuilt from pieces of broken trust. No chance, no chaos, just decisions. Truth, planted like seeds. And all over, people were learning how to read between the lines. Josh opened a notebook. Not digital. Paper. He scribbled a single sentence. You don't have to burn the system to rebuild it. You just have to stop believing it. He closed the journal, placed it on the shelf beside his old textbooks. His fiancée watched him, proud. In that room, there were no charts. No blinking green lights. No urgency. Just space and peace. The war had ended for him, not with a win or loss, but with understanding. He walked to the window, opened it. A breeze filled the room. Somewhere, a new generation was logging into their first brokerage account. Somewhere else, another was reading about order flow for the first time. And Josh? He was writing again. Not for revenge. For legacy. On a blank Reddit post titled, "Where Are We Now?" a final comment appeared. We are the reminder they tried to erase. No signature. No flair. Just that. Josh saw it, and smiled. He didn't reply. He didn't need to. That line was enough. That line was the final trade. The rebellion wasn't forgotten. It had simply changed form. Now it lived in code, in books, in trust that was earned, not given. The GameStop saga would one day become just another financial anomaly in textbooks. But to the people who lived it, who fought, lost, learned, and woke up, it would always be more. A digital roar that made the ground shake. And in that silence that followed, something better began to grow.